guys, Jen here. I'm going to show you how to make cauliflower crust for cauliflower crust pizza and cauliflower breadsticks. It's delicious. It's a much healthier and leaner alternative to your regular flour dough pizza crust. So to do this, you're obviously going to need cauliflower. I use garlic powder, onion powder, garlic salt, and Italian seasoning to flavor it, liquid egg whites, and fat-free or reduced mozzarella. You can use regular mozzarella, but to keep the macros lower, I use the fat-free. When you cook it, it cooks just fine. You're also going to want a food processor. You can chop it by hand, but it's very daunting. It's much easier for a food processor. You need your trusty food scale to measure it all out, and you need parchment paper. Wax paper, or excuse me, foil will not work. You have to have parchment paper. That's what's going to help get it crispy and keep it all together. And then a cookie sheet. So you're going to want to preheat your oven to 425, and then we're going to cut up all our cauliflower and grate it. Be back in a minute. Okay, so we've got our grated cauliflower. And by the way, I took this recipe from sandyskitchenadventures.com. I found her when I was doing MediFast, so she has a lot of really low fat, low cal, low carb recipes on her site, but that's where I found this particular recipe. So I'll do a whole head of cauliflower at one time and make several crusts and freeze them. I usually put wax paper between them and put them in a Ziploc bag, but you don't even have to. They will actually not freeze together and really nicely. So anyway, okay, so we have our head of cauliflower. I use 150 grams of cauliflower. It makes a decent sized crust. So I'm gonna zero out my scale, change it to grams. Get 150. Put too much. Perfect, 150. The spices I don't measure, and I just kind of go by taste. I just do a little bit of garlic powder, tiny bit of onion powder, sprinkle of garlic salt, and I like my stuff very garlicky, and so does Nick. You might not want to use as much garlic. You might want to either use one or the other. And then I do some Italian seasoning. And then I do 3 tablespoons of the liquid egg white. And what this does is it just helps it stick together. And for my cheese, I use 1 ounce or 28 grams. So we'll zero our scale again to do 1 ounce of cheese. Too much cheese. So now you're going to want to mix it all together. And the cauliflower should be grated to the point that it's almost a paste. The thinner that it is, the easier it's going to be to mush into a solid form, if that makes sense. But if you don't have a food processor and you chop it by hand, it will still work. You just might have to cook it a little bit longer to make sure it really sticks together, or use a little bit more cheese, because when it melts, that can help hold it together too. So now I'm just going to dump it onto my parchment paper and form it into a crust. Be back in a sec. This is the part that truthfully takes the longest if you're OCD like me and you can't just have a random misshapen blob, because it'll take me 20 minutes to attempt to form this into a rectangle. So what feels like 5 days later, I'm finally at a place where I'm happy with the shape and thickness of all of these, or I just don't care anymore. So now I'm going to pop them all in the oven for 25 minutes, and then I'm going to flip them over. So here we go. In the oven, don't mind my dirty oven. We have to wait until it gets warmer to clean it. 9:45. I will see you guys all back at 10:10. So it's been 25 minutes. My pans are gonna get off on me. So we need to take them out and flip them. And now some of them, especially if they're thinner than the other ones, the edges might start to brown, and they might start to come up, and that's okay. So they'll look burned, but I promise you they won't taste burned. This one's actually almost done because it was on the bottom rack. Oh yeah. Looks are deceiving though. That actually, it looks burned, but it's really not. A lot of it's the cheese that's in it. So I'm gonna flip them all over, put them back in on 425 for 10 minutes, and then take them out to cool. All right, you can stop it. Okay, so they've come out of the oven after 25 minutes on one side, flip over, 10 on the other, let them cool for like at least 15 minutes or so. And then you have your solid pizza crust. If you wanted to eat them right away, I do a 1/4 cup of organic pizza sauce. Sorry, I'm talking a little funny. I have some Crust white strips on, which I'll be reviewing for you guys in 10 days in a later video. Anyway, I do a 1/4 cup of organic pizza sauce because it has the lowest amount of carbs. I get it at Giant Eagle. And then I top with cheese, and you pop it back in for like 10 minutes, just long enough for the cheese to melt, and you're good to go. Or like I'm doing, you can freeze them. Like I mentioned, you don't have to put wax paper between them, but I like to, just for peace of mind. So then I just stick them in my Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, and you're good to go. So this is the recipe. I will post it in full in the comments below.